You wake up and reach for your phone to check the time, but the numbers are blurry. You squint, rub your eyes, and try again, but everything still looks foggy and unclear. You head to the kitchen to make breakfast, but reading the labels on your medication bottles feels like staring through frosted glass. By mid-morning, you're struggling to see the TV clearly, and by evening, that dull ache behind your eyes makes you want to close them and give up. You've tried new glasses, expensive eye drops, even those blue light-blocking lenses everyone talks about, but nothing seems to bring back the crisp, clear vision you once had. And the scariest part? You're starting to wonder if this is just how life looks now. But here's what most eye doctors won't tell you. Your blurry vision isn't just about aging, it's about nutrition. Your eyes are starving for 3 specific nutrients that can restore clarity, protect your retinas, and reverse the cloudy haze that's been stealing your independence. And the good news? These nutrients are hiding in everyday foods you can start eating today. Before we dive in, I'd love to know where you're watching from right now. Drop a comment below and tell me your biggest struggle with your vision. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a sight-saving tip from our channel dedicated to helping seniors like you see clearly and live fully again. Let's begin. Let me tell you about something that changed everything for one of my patients. Her name was Dorothy, a 68-year-old grandmother from Ohio who came into my office convinced she was going blind. She couldn't read to her grandkids anymore, couldn't drive at night, and was terrified of losing her independence. Her ophthalmologist told her it was just age-related macular degeneration and handed her a prescription for expensive supplements. But what Dorothy didn't know was that her eyes weren't just aging, they were depleted. After running some tests, we discovered her lutein and zeaxanthin levels were dangerously low, her omega-3 index was in the basement, and her body was essentially operating on empty when it came to eye-protecting antioxidants. Within 8 weeks of adding just 3 specific foods to her daily routine, Dorothy's vision clarity improved by 34%, her night vision returned, and she was back behind the wheel driving herself to church every Sunday. She didn't need surgery. She didn't need a miracle. She just needed the right nutrition at the right time. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Now, before we get into the foods, you need to understand why your vision gets blurry in the first place. It's not just about wearing out your eyes or staring at screens too long. What's really happening is that the delicate structures inside your eyes, your macula, your lens, your retina, are being damaged by something called oxidative stress. Think of it like rust forming on metal. Every single day, your eyes are exposed to blue light, UV rays, pollution, and even the natural metabolic waste your body produces. All of this creates free radicals, which are unstable molecules that attack the cells in your eyes, breaking down the protective pigments, clouding your lens, and degrading the photoreceptor cells that help you see fine details. By the time you hit 60, your body's natural defense system is producing about 50% less of the antioxidants needed to fight this damage. And that's when the blur sets in. But here's the thing. You can rebuild that defense system. You can flood your eyes with the exact nutrients they're crying out for. And when you do, the results can be nothing short of life-changing. The first food we're going to talk about is one you probably already have in your kitchen, but you're not eating it the right way. I'm talking about eggs, specifically the yolks. Now, I know what you're thinking. Eggs? Really? But hear me out, because this is where most people get it wrong. The egg white gets all the attention for protein, but the yolk is where the vision-saving magic happens. Egg yolks are one of the richest sources of lutein and zeaxanthin, 2 carotenoids that act like internal sunglasses for your eyes. These compounds concentrate in your macula, the part of your retina responsible for sharp central vision, and they filter out harmful blue light while neutralizing free radicals before they can cause damage. A 2019 study from Tufts University followed 140 seniors who added one whole egg to their breakfast every day for 12 weeks. By the end of the study, participants showed a 26% increase in macular pigment density, which directly correlates to clearer, sharper vision. Even more impressive, those who started with the lowest levels of lutein saw the most dramatic improvements, with some reporting they could read again without straining or needing magnification. But here's the catch. You have to eat the yolk, and you have to eat it cooked gently. Overcooking destroys the delicate nutrients, so skip the scrambled eggs cooked until they're rubbery. Instead, go for poached, soft-boiled, or gently fried in a little olive oil. The fat in the yolk actually helps your body absorb the lutein and zeaxanthin more effectively, which is why eating eggs with a source of healthy fat, like avocado or a drizzle of olive oil, makes them even more powerful. And if you're worried about cholesterol, recent research has shown that for most seniors, dietary cholesterol from eggs doesn't significantly raise blood cholesterol levels and may actually support heart health by boosting HDL, the good cholesterol. So, if you've been skipping the yolk or only eating egg whites, you're throwing away the most powerful part of the egg for your vision. Now, let me tell you about Frank, a 72-year-old retired electrician who came to see me because he couldn't see well enough to do his woodworking anymore. Everything looked dim and hazy, like he was looking through a dirty window. His doctor told him he had early cataracts, and that surgery was the only option. But Frank wasn't ready for that, so we started him on a simple protocol. 2 eggs every morning, cooked soft with a side of spinach and a handful of blueberries. Within 6 weeks, Frank told me the fog was lifting. He could see the grain in the wood again, could thread a needle without his hands shaking from frustration, and most importantly, he felt like himself again. His optometrist was stunned at his follow-up exam. The cataract progression had slowed significantly, and his visual acuity had actually improved. Frank didn't reverse decades of damage overnight, but he stopped the decline and gave his eyes the fuel they needed to fight back. And it all started with something as simple as eating the whole egg. The second nutrient your eyes are desperate for is omega-3 fatty acids, and the best food source for this is fatty fish, like salmon, sardines, and mackerel. But here's what most people don't realize. Your eyes aren't just organs that help you see. They're made up of living tissue that needs constant repair and maintenance, and omega-3s are the building blocks for that repair. The retina, in particular, has one of the highest concentrations of DHA, a type of omega-3, in the entire human body. Without enough DHA, the cell membranes in your retina become rigid and inflamed, which leads to blurred vision, dry eyes, and increased risk of macular degeneration. A landmark study published in the Archives of Ophthalmology in 2021 tracked over 2,400 seniors for 8 years and found that those who ate fatty fish at least twice a week had a 45% lower risk of developing advanced macular degeneration compared to those who rarely ate fish. Even more striking, participants who already had early signs of vision decline were able to slow the progression by up to 39% just by increasing their fish intake. So what makes fatty fish so powerful for your eyes? It's not just the omega-3s, it's the way they work inside your body. DHA reduces inflammation in the tiny blood vessels that feed your retina, keeping them flexible and open so oxygen and nutrients can flow freely. It also supports the production of tears, which is crucial because dry eyes aren't just uncomfortable. They actually blur your vision by disrupting the smooth surface of your cornea. And here's something that surprised even me. Omega-3s have been shown to protect against something called drusen deposits, which are yellow clumps of waste material that accumulate under the retina and are one of the earliest signs of macular degeneration. By eating fatty fish regularly, you're essentially giving your eyes a cleanup crew that hauls away the debris before it can cloud your vision. The best sources are wild-caught salmon, sardines with the bones and skin, mackerel, and even canned tuna, if it's packed in water or olive oil. Aim for at least 2 servings per week, and if you can, Try to eat the smaller fish like sardines more often because they're lower in mercury and higher in calcium, which also supports eye health by maintaining the structural integrity of your optic nerve. Now let me share something that happened with one of my patients named Ruth. She was 74, living alone, and struggling with severe dry eyes and blurry vision that made reading impossible. Every eye drop she tried gave her temporary relief, but never lasted more than an hour. Her eyes felt gritty, like sand was trapped under her eyelids, and by afternoon she'd have to close them just to get through the pain. When I asked about her diet, she admitted she hadn't eaten fish in years because she didn't like the smell or the taste. So we started simple. I had her buy canned sardines packed in olive oil and mix them into a salad with lemon juice and fresh herbs to mask the fishy flavor. Within 3 weeks, Ruth called me in tears, not from pain, but from relief. Her eyes felt lubricated again. The grittiness was gone, and for the first time in months, she could sit down and read a full chapter of her book without her vision going blurry. Her ophthalmologist confirmed what she was feeling. Her tear production had improved, the redness in her eyes had decreased, and her overall ocular surface health was significantly better. All from adding 1 small can of sardines to her diet 3 times a week. But if fish isn't an option for you, whether it's because of allergies, taste preferences, or access, there are other ways to get omega-3s into your diet. Flax seeds and chia seeds are excellent plant-based sources, though they contain ALA, a type of omega-3 that your body has to convert into DHA, and that conversion isn't always efficient, especially as you age. Walnuts are another great option, and they're easy to add to oatmeal or salads. But if you want the most direct and bioavailable form of DHA, fish and algae-based supplements are your best bet. Just make sure you're getting at least 500 to 1,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA per day for eye health benefits. And always take them with a meal that contains fat, like avocado or olive oil, because omega-3s are fat-soluble and need fat to be absorbed properly. Now, the third food that can transform your vision is one that most people have never even heard of as an eye health powerhouse, and that's leafy green vegetables, specifically kale, spinach, and collard greens. I know, you've heard about eating your greens a million times, but this isn't just about being healthy in some vague way. This is about flooding your macula with the exact pigments it needs to filter light, prevent damage, and keep your vision razor sharp. These greens are absolutely loaded with lutein and zeaxanthin, even more than eggs in some cases. 1 cup of cooked kale contains 23 milligrams of lutein, which is more than 20 times the amount in a single egg. And here's what makes this so powerful. When you eat these greens regularly, the lutein and zeaxanthin travel directly to your macula and literally become part of the tissue structure. They form a protective layer called macular pigment that shields your photoreceptor cells from blue light and oxidative damage. The denser your macular pigment, the sharper your vision, and the lower your risk of developing macular degeneration, or cataracts. A groundbreaking study from Harvard Medical School in 2022 followed 1,800 seniors over the age of 60 for 10 years, and found that those who ate at least 1 serving of leafy greens per day had a 57% lower risk of severe vision loss compared to those who rarely ate greens. Even more remarkable, participants who already had early signs of macular degeneration were able to slow the progression by 41% just by increasing their intake of kale and spinach. And this wasn't a small effect. This was measurable, life-changing improvement that allowed people to keep reading, driving, and living independently years longer than they would have otherwise. So why aren't more doctors talking about this? Because there's no prescription for kale. There's no pharmaceutical company promoting spinach. But the science is clear, and the results speak for themselves. Let me tell you about Helen, an 81-year-old woman who came to see me after her eye doctor told her she had wet macular degeneration and would need regular injections to prevent blindness. She was terrified, understandably, and wanted to know if there was anything she could do to support her treatment. I told her about the research on leafy greens and suggested she start eating a big bowl of sautéed spinach or kale every single day, cooked in olive oil with garlic to help with absorption. Helen was skeptical at first. She thought it sounded too simple, too good to be true, but she committed to it anyway because she was desperate to keep her vision. 3 months later, her retinal specialist told her something he rarely gets to say. Her condition had stabilized. The leaking blood vessels weren't getting worse, and in some areas, they were actually improving. He asked her what she'd been doing differently, and when she told him about the greens, he nodded and said, "Keep doing exactly that." Helen still gets her injections, but the frequency has decreased, and her vision has remained stable for over 2 years now. She credits the leafy greens with giving her body the tools it needed to fight back, alongside her medical treatment. Now, here's how to get the most out of your greens. First, cook them. I know raw salads are popular, but when it comes to absorbing lutein and zeaxanthin, cooked greens are far superior because heat breaks down the cell walls and makes the nutrients more bioavailable. Second, always eat them with fat. These carotenoids are fat-soluble, which means your body can't absorb them without fat present. So sauté your greens in olive oil, add a handful to a soup with bone broth, or toss them with avocado and a drizzle of tahini. Third, aim for at least 1 cup of cooked greens per day. That's a realistic, achievable goal that will give you the lutein and zeaxanthin levels needed to protect your vision. And if you're not a fan of the taste, get creative. Blend spinach into a smoothie with berries and banana. Mix kale into scrambled eggs. Stir collard greens into a hearty stew. The point is to get them into your body consistently, because consistency is what creates the protective layer in your macula that keeps your vision clear. And here's something most people don't realize. It takes time for these nutrients to build up in your eyes. You're not going to eat 1 serving of kale and wake up with perfect vision the next day. But if you commit to eating these foods regularly, within 8 to 12 weeks, you'll start to notice changes. Colors will look more vibrant. Details will become sharper. That hazy film that's been covering everything will start to lift. And over time, you'll be protecting yourself from the kind of vision loss that steals independence and quality of life. This isn't a quick fix. It's a rebuilding process. But it works, and the science backs it up. Now, I want to pause for a moment and ask you something that really matters. How long have you been living with blurry vision? How many months or even years have you been squinting at labels, struggling to recognize faces across the room, or giving up on activities you love because your eyes just won't cooperate anymore? I know how frustrating it feels when people tell you it's just part of getting older, as if you're supposed to accept losing your sight without a fight. But you're not alone in this struggle, and what you're going through is real and valid. Drop a comment right now and simply write, "I'm ready to see clearly again." When you share that, you're not just helping yourself, you're giving hope to someone else watching this video who feels exactly what you feel right now. I read every single comment, and your voice matters here. You deserve to see the world clearly, and together, we're going to make that happen. Now, let's talk about something that might surprise you. The foods that can save your vision and the foods that are slowly destroying it. Because here's what most seniors don't realize. You can eat all the eggs, fish, and leafy greens in the world, but if you're still consuming certain foods that inflame your eyes and damage your retinas, you're fighting a losing battle. The first major culprit is refined sugar and high glycemic carbohydrates. I'm talking about white bread, pastries, sugary cereals, candy, and even those innocent-looking fruit juices that spike your blood sugar faster than soda. Here's why this matters for your eyes. When your blood sugar rises rapidly, it triggers a process called glycation, where sugar molecules bind to proteins in your body and create something called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These ages accumulate in the lens of your eye and cause it to become cloudy and stiff, which is exactly how cataracts form. They also damage the tiny blood vessels in your retina, leading to diabetic retinopathy, macular degeneration, and even permanent vision loss. A 2020 study from Johns Hopkins University found that seniors who consumed more than 50 grams of added sugar per day had a 67% higher risk of developing cataracts within 5 years compared to those who kept their sugar intake below 25 grams. And here's the kicker. Most people have no idea how much sugar they're eating because it's hidden in everything from salad dressings to tomato sauce to whole grain bread. Let me tell you about Gerald, a 69-year-old man who came to me complaining that his vision was getting cloudier every month. He'd been diagnosed with early cataracts and was told to wait until they got worse before considering surgery. When I asked about his diet, he insisted he ate healthy. No junk food, no soda, plenty of vegetables. But when we dug deeper, I discovered he was eating a bowl of sweetened oatmeal for breakfast, a sandwich on white bread for lunch, and pasta with marinara sauce for dinner almost every night. He thought he was making good choices, but his blood sugar was spiking 3 times a day, and his eyes were paying the price. We switched him to a low-glycemic diet focused on whole foods, healthy fats, and protein with every meal. Within 8 weeks, Gerald reported that the fog in his vision had lifted. Things looked brighter, sharper, and clearer than they had in over a year. His ophthalmologist confirmed that the cataract progression had slowed significantly, and Gerald was able to delay surgery for another 3 years just by changing what he put on his plate. The second food group you need to avoid is processed vegetable oils and trans fats. I'm talking about soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil, and anything labeled partially hydrogenated. These oils are everywhere, in packaged snacks, fried foods, baked goods, margarine, and even salad dressings. The problem is that these oils are highly unstable and oxidize easily when exposed to heat, light, or air. When you consume oxidized oils, they create massive amounts of free radicals in your body, and your eyes, with their high concentration of delicate fatty tissue, are especially vulnerable. These free radicals attack the cell membranes in your retina, damage the optic nerve, and accelerate macular degeneration. Research from the National Eye Institute found that people who consumed high amounts of omega-6 fatty acids from vegetable oils had a 49% higher risk of developing age-related macular degeneration compared to those who consumed more omega-3s and avoided processed oils. And here's what makes this even worse. Most seniors grew up being told that vegetable oils were heart-healthy and that butter and animal fats were dangerous. But the science has completely reversed on that. We now know that natural fats like butter, olive oil, and coconut oil are far safer and more protective for your eyes than any processed vegetable oil. I had a patient named Evelyn, 76 years old, who had been using margarine and cooking with canola oil for decades because her doctor told her it was better for her heart. But her vision had been declining rapidly, and she was developing dry, irritated eyes that felt like they were burning all the time. When I explained the connection between vegetable oils and eye inflammation, she was shocked. She immediately switched to cooking with olive oil and real butter, and within a month, her eyes felt less inflamed. The burning sensation decreased, and her vision clarity improved noticeably. She told me it was like someone turned up the contrast on her eyesight. Everything looked more defined and less washed out. Evelyn's story isn't unique. I've seen this transformation happen over and over again when people eliminate inflammatory oils from their diet and replace them with healthy, natural fats. The third dietary mistake that's destroying your vision is not drinking enough water. Dehydration doesn't just make you thirsty. It affects every system in your body, including your eyes. Your eyes rely on a thin layer of tears to stay lubricated, to wash away debris, and to provide a smooth optical surface for light to pass through. When you're dehydrated, Your tear production drops, your eyes dry out, and your vision becomes blurry and uncomfortable. Chronic dehydration also reduces blood flow to the optic nerve and retina, starving them of oxygen and nutrients. A study published in the British Journal of Ophthalmology in 2021 found that seniors who drank fewer than 4 glasses of water per day had significantly higher rates of dry eye syndrome, blurred vision, and eye strain compared to those who drank 6 to 8 glasses daily. And the fix is so simple. Just drink more water throughout the day, especially if you're taking medications that have diuretic effects, or if you live in a dry climate. I remember working with a woman named Patricia who was 71 and convinced she was developing serious eye disease because her vision was constantly blurry and her eyes burned and itched all day long. She'd been to 3 different eye doctors and spent hundreds of dollars on prescription drops that barely helped. When I asked her how much water she drank, she admitted it was maybe 2 small glasses a day because she didn't want to have to use the bathroom too often. We worked on a hydration plan where she sipped water consistently throughout the day, and within 2 weeks, her symptoms improved dramatically. Her eyes felt moist again, the blurriness cleared up, and she couldn't believe something so simple had made such a huge difference. Patricia learned that sometimes the solution to a complex problem is simpler than you think. Your body just needs the basics: water, real food, and consistent care. Now, there's one more thing you need to avoid if you want to protect your vision, and that's excessive alcohol consumption. I'm not saying you can never have a glass of wine, but regular heavy drinking accelerates eye aging faster than almost anything else. Alcohol depletes your body of B vitamins, especially thiamine and B12, which are critical for optic nerve function. It also dehydrates you, increases inflammation, and interferes with your liver's ability to process the nutrients your eyes need. A 2019 study from the University of Wisconsin found that people who drank more than 14 alcoholic beverages per week had a 42% higher risk of developing cataracts and a 35% higher risk of macular degeneration compared to those who drank moderately or not at all. If you're serious about protecting your vision, limit alcohol to no more than 3 to 4 drinks per week, and always pair it with plenty of water and a nutrient-dense meal to minimize the damage. So let's recap what we've covered so far. To restore and protect your vision after 60, you need to eat whole eggs with the yolk, preferably cooked gently to preserve the lutein and zeaxanthin. Add fatty fish like salmon or sardines at least twice a week for omega-3s that reduce inflammation and support retinal health. Eat at least 1 cup of cooked leafy greens every day, prepared with healthy fats to maximize absorption. And just as importantly, you need to avoid refined sugars and high glycemic carbs that cloud your lens and damage your blood vessels. Cut out processed vegetable oils and trans fats that create free radicals and destroy your retinal cells. Stay hydrated with at least 6 to 8 glasses of water daily to keep your eyes lubricated and your blood flowing. And limit alcohol consumption to protect your optic nerves and liver function. These aren't complicated changes. They're simple, practical steps that anyone can take starting today. And the results can be profound. Now, I want to share one more powerful strategy that ties everything together, and that's timing. When you eat matters almost as much as what you eat when it comes to eye health. Your body has natural rhythms, and certain nutrients are absorbed better at specific times of day. For example, eating your eggs and leafy greens earlier in the day, ideally at breakfast or lunch, gives your body more time to process and deliver those carotenoids to your macula before the oxidative stress of the day peaks. Omega-3 rich fish is best consumed in the evening because the anti-inflammatory compounds work overnight while your body is in repair mode, helping to rebuild damaged retinal tissue and reduce morning eye puffiness and dryness. And here's something most people never think about. Eating a small handful of nuts or seeds about an hour before bed can help stabilize your blood sugar overnight, preventing the glycation process that damages your lens while you sleep. These small timing adjustments can amplify the benefits of everything else you're doing. I also want to talk about something that often gets overlooked, and that's the role of hydration timing. Drinking a full glass of water first thing in the morning helps flush out metabolic waste that accumulated overnight and rehydrates the tissues in your eyes after hours without fluid intake. Then, sipping water consistently throughout the day, rather than chugging large amounts all at once, keeps your tear production steady and your eyes comfortable. And here's a tip that helped many of my patients. If you struggle with nighttime bathroom trips, stop drinking water about 2 hours before bed, but make sure you're getting most of your daily intake earlier in the day. This way, your eyes stay hydrated without disrupting your sleep. Let me share one final story that brings everything together. His name was James, a 78-year-old veteran who had given up hope of ever seeing clearly again. He'd been diagnosed with moderate macular degeneration, his cataracts were progressing, and his doctor told him there wasn't much that could be done except monitor the decline. James was a proud man who had always been independent, but the thought of losing his ability to drive, to read, to see his great-grandchildren's faces clearly was devastating. When he came to me, he was skeptical that food could make any real difference, but he was willing to try because he had nothing to lose. We put together a simple daily plan. 2 eggs cooked in olive oil every morning with a side of sautéed spinach, a can of sardines mixed into a salad 3 times a week, a big serving of kale or collard greens with dinner every night. He cut out all processed foods, switched from white bread to whole grains, stopped drinking juice and soda, and committed to drinking 8 glasses of water daily. He also added a small handful of walnuts before bed to keep his blood sugar stable. Within 6 weeks, James called me with excitement in his voice. He said the fog was lifting. He could see road signs more clearly while driving. He could read the newspaper without his magnifying glass. And most importantly, he could see his great-granddaughter's face clearly across the room, and it made him cry tears of joy. At his 12-week follow-up with his ophthalmologist, the doctor was stunned. The macular degeneration had not progressed, which almost never happens without medical intervention. The cataracts had barely changed, and James's visual acuity had actually improved by 2 lines on the eye chart. His doctor asked what he'd been doing, and when James explained the dietary changes, the doctor admitted he'd never seen results like that from nutrition alone. James continued this way of eating for the next 3 years, and his vision remained stable. He kept his driver's license, he kept his independence, and he kept his hope, all because he gave his body the nutrients it needed to heal. So here's what I want you to understand. Improving your vision after 60 isn't just about seeing more clearly. It's about reclaiming the confidence to read your favorite books without strain, to drive safely at night without fear, to recognize the faces of the people you love across the room, and to live independently without the constant worry of losing those precious moments. Your eyes are telling you they need help, and now you know exactly what to give them. Remember, patience and consistency are the keys here. You didn't lose your vision overnight, and you won't get it back overnight. But every healthy choice you make is an investment in your vision, in your independence, and in your future. Each egg you eat, each serving of fish, each bowl of greens is rebuilding the tissues in your eyes, 1 cell at a time. And that matters more than you know. If this video brought you hope or opened your eyes to something you didn't know before, please leave a like right now. It truly helps us reach more people who need this information. And drop a comment below telling me which of these foods you're going to start eating this week. Will you commit to adding eggs every morning? Will you try sardines for the first time? Will you load up on leafy greens? Let me know, because your experience and your commitment might be exactly the encouragement someone else needs to start their own healing journey too. You're not alone in this. There's an entire community right here walking beside you, fighting for a life with clear, healthy vision and full autonomy. We're all in this together, and every step you take inspires someone else to take theirs. And speaking of transforming your eye health, I've got something important coming tomorrow that you absolutely need to see. I'm going to reveal the 3 hidden household toxins that are damaging your retinas every single day, and most seniors have no idea they're being exposed. These aren't things you eat. They're things you touch, breathe, and use without a second thought, and they're silently stealing your vision. One of them is sitting in your bathroom right now, and another is probably in your kitchen. Once you know what they are, you can eliminate them immediately and stop the damage before it's too late. You won't want to miss that video. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on so you catch it the moment it goes live. Your eyes deserve every bit of protection and care you can give them. Until then, take care of those precious eyes. I'll see you very soon.